Hey, this is Stacia, and I'm going to share a USCF rated tournament game that I played at Parma this week on Tuesday, August 10th. This is my second round game against Jackie Simmons, who I don't know a lot of adult women playing rated chess in Cleveland. In fact, I don't really know any that are over, say, 1100. So I've heard like a rumor about Jackie that she existed, but I never met her and certainly never played her. So tonight I had the pleasure of facing her at Parma. So she had the white pieces. I actually thought she was probably rated like 1700 because the other two players in my quad at Parma were over 1700. And so that's what I expected that she was too, but I guess she was actually 1566 for this game. So let's have a look. Okay, so I had no idea what to expect against her. She played 1d4, I played d5, and she played c4, the Queen's Gambit. So I like to take the pawn, and she played knight to c3. Okay, so this is the Queen's Gambit accepted, probably the newest leg of my repertoire, but one that I have studied quite a bit the last few months. And knight c3 is supposed to be not the best because, I mean, if we think about what this move is doing, it's not really doing a whole lot. I mean, white is not threatening to take the pawn back. They're not developing their king side, getting ready to castle. They're just developing a piece, you know? And this actually kind of wastes time for white because white should probably, they could take the center with e4. I think that's a good move. They could play knight to f3. I also think that's a good move because it fights for these important squares. And they could even play e3, which is what I used to play when I played the Queen's Gambit. And that just looks to recover the pawn, but not try taking the whole center. So knight to c3 is, it doesn't do anything like that. It just develops a piece, but it's not fighting for important squares necessarily. I'm not trying to get these squares. Okay, so a6 is my repertoire move with the idea of b5. And here she played a4, stopping my idea. So I like the move knight to c6 here. And this move looks funny when you first see it, I think, because, it's just begging for d5 to be played. And if d5 is played, my intention is to go knight a5, and the knight is surprisingly well placed on a5, where it guards the pawn and threatens to maybe come into b3 at some point. So, all right, let's continue. She played knight to f3 instead of d5. So here I played the move e5. So again, this is a part of my repertoire. Now, if white takes, we will trade queens, and I think this trade is beneficial to black. Not sure. I'll turn on the engine to see what she should do. Yeah, take with the knight. And then, wow, apparently I have knight b4 or knight a5 are both very good for black. Like a pawn up. Probably because we're a pawn up. But, wait a minute. They have this pawn, right? So are we going to win that pawn? Or I don't know, but perhaps the threat of the fork wins more tempo. But, okay, I'm not really sure. But I know that trading queens is good for black. So d5 was played here. And I played knight to a5. So like I was discussing, I'm guarding this pawn now. So, white could try to go e4, but they are not going to win this pawn, and that's kind of annoying for white. I mean, they could try some different moves, like knight d2 is an idea, b3 is an idea. There are some ideas here to try and win the pawn still. Okay, so knight takes e5. Yeah, and I probably wouldn't have figured out this line on my own, but I knew that this was part of my repertoire from Sopiko Gurnashvili, Anishgiri's wife. And she recommends this pawn sacrifice. The unfortunate thing for me is that I was actually out of book here. So I knew to sack the pawn, and then I didn't know anything else. So kind of a scary moment for me, but this is how you learn, I think, when you go into the lines that you want to play and you try to play them. And you'll either figure it out or you won't, and you'll learn something. So I figured here that I should attack the knight. I think I have to attack that knight, because if I don't, probably e4 is going to be very good, and she'll have time to win my pawn. It's kind of what I was thinking. Like if I just go knight f6, for example, what's stopping her from going e4 or e3 even? I mean, I guess the computer says bishop to b4. So, okay, she could win the pawn, right? She could. But then I can take on e4. Ah. Okay, I was seeing lines like this during the game, but I was not certain about them. Yeah, so what if e3 so we can't win the pawn? Well, it still wants bishop e4. Probably we're going knight e4 just to attack the pinned knight, I bet. So like, let's say we do the same thing. It just says, oh, this time we take d5. It's not defended by the pawn on e4. Wow, so yeah, I guess everything's kind of just working out for black. Which is pretty interesting. Okay, but in the game, what happened in the game? Oh, in the game, I did not play knight f6. I played this move, bishop d6. So, turns out this is the main move that Sopiko gives. So I'm glad I found it. I'm just attacking the knight. It gains tempo. And now the knight is no longer attacking that pawn. So it's kind of good. And now knight to f6. Also, this is theory still. Bishop to g5. Pinning my knight, also theory. And here I decided to play h6. Okay, so I'm asking her if she wants to trade the bishop for my knight. If she does, you know, I can develop my queen out to a good square. And if she doesn't, I actually thought, you know, this bishop wants to be on this diagonal, and especially have the option of coming to d2, because it's very likely I'm going to play bishop b4 at some point and pin that knight and have a lot of play on these light squares over here. So she actually did not retreat the bishop. She took, and I took back, and she played e4. Okay, very direct play. So the thing I like about the queen being here is that it does provide extra protection to the e5 square. So this pawn fork is not quite ready yet, but it could be at some point. So I do have time to castle now if I want to, which is one of the top engine moves. But I played this move, pinning the knight. Yeah, this is a hard decision for me, actually. I was going to castle, but I thought I should get my bishop developed. The other thing is that I was actually worried about the knight d2 plan here. Like, if I castle, I thought knight d2, you know, now my pawn is getting attacked. I don't have a knight on f6. So that bishop b4 idea, pin the knight and attack it, I don't have a knight. So What would I do here? Well, the computer is going to tell us. It likes several moves here, which is surprising. Queen g6 is possible, which I did think about. So the point of Queen g6 is, I think, kind of neat. It's taking advantage of the fact that white needs 2 moves to castle, and one of them is going to be bishop e2, and then they would hang this pawn. So Queen g6 is annoying. Another move, though, the top move, is b5. Wow. b5. Okay, I'm trying to understand this move. So I guess if they take and we take back, my knight is defended by the rook. That's one thing. But it's attacked again by this knight, so... I think the problem is white does not have time for a move like that. I mean, look at the development. You know, I'm castled. White is 2 moves away from castling. I don't know if you guys have heard what Magnus Carlsen said about this, but I thought it was very interesting. He said that if you're 1 move away from castling, you're fine. If you're 2 moves away, you might be fine, you might not. He says that's risky. And if you're 3 moves away from castle, you're lost. That's pretty much what he said. So she's 2 moves away, so it's risky. And yeah, I don't know about this whole thing. So I would just say, like, here, and, you know, I was thinking about taking the pawn here, but I see the engine wants to play bishop to c5. Threatening mate. Okay. Yeah, I didn't really consider that, but that looks kind of nice. It also saves our bishop from being captured, so I think I do like that move. It's giving queen f3, guarding and offering a trade to queens. We say no thank you because we're better developed. We go here, that attacks the knight. So it looks like we can just play from here, play for the initiative. And if we do that, white's not going to be able to castle and is going to end up in big trouble. There's no doubt. And we don't care about the pawns anymore. We're playing for activity. So, I mean, black is like -5 here, believe it or not. So black is winning. That's what that means. Okay, anyway, back to the game. She played e4. I did pin this knight because I was worried about knight d2. So this is therefore inaccurate because we can allow knight e2. We could just castle instead. So I'll do that next time. And here, bishop e2. Once again, I'm worried about knight d2 collecting my pawn, but at least white spent a tempo. That's a good thing. So here, what to do? Well, I didn't want knight d2 still, so I decided to take the knight. And the other reason I took the knight is that this bishop has been drawn away from this diagonal. So hope of getting the pawn back is becoming fairly bleak. And also, I don't think that bishop is well placed here either. I mean, it could be at some point, you know, but she needs time to push her center pawns. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. Okay, there. Okay, so now I castle. She castled. Yeah, and here is a critical moment. Okay, so I played the move queen to e5, but it actually turns out that's not the right way to play this position, and there's a specific reason why. So if you want to pause your video and figure out why the queen e5 idea is not very good, go ahead and do so now. And also, what is better instead? Okay, answer those 2 questions. Okay, so there is a specific reason here. Now, I was very hesitant about queen e5, but I just couldn't resist the urge to develop rapidly with tempo. So, you know, queen e5, I think pretty much she needs to go g3 because I don't see another move. It's a weakening move, but she does have a light square bishop. The light square bishop could post itself there and be a defender for the king, so I don't think my attack is necessarily all that potent, but I can develop with tempo now because I can play f5 and I can play rook over and stuff like that, and that's what I liked about playing this way. The only problem is that after f5, which I planned, she can take. I should probably take with the queen, because if I don't, rook e1 will come with tempo, so that would be silly not to. That'd be silly to put the queen there. And, well, here I'm attacking the bishop, and I just assumed bishop g2. After bishop g2, that kind of justifies the way I'm playing, like black is better here, minus 0.7. But white could play this move, which Michael Jolson gave right away when I analyzed with him. And now it's different, you know, this is annoying. And that bishop is very good. And she got tempo on me now. I guess I would go queen g6. I don't know what else to do. And yeah, white is a little bit better here. They can go bishop h5 if they want, or queen e2, or even bishop e6 check is okay, which is the move I would probably be scared of. But the other ones are stronger, surprisingly. I guess saving this resource for later? I don't know. Okay, but in the game, bishop g2. So if we shouldn't go queen e5 because of that whole bishop g4 thing, then what should we do? Well, the computer gives the move knight b3, but I like the move that Michael Jolson gave. He said bishop e5. You know, we are saying that we might take that knight and win a pawn, you know? Now, if white defends this way, you know, we come in with tempo. And if white moves the rook now, we come in here. I mean, it's starting to get pretty annoying. So I like that play for black. And let's see what the computer says to do. Here it likes queen e2, allowing me to take. So what on earth? Wow, I think maybe I take and they're gonna go e4. No, they can't. That can't be right. Let's see. So if I take, the computer likes, yeah, e5 is a move and rook ad1. Huh. So white just, I guess white should just sacrifice the pawn and catch up in development. But black is still better here. Yeah, and the computer does like this bishop c5 idea, but I think it just prefers to throw in this move first because, I mean, where does the rook go? I mean, I played this move later in the game and she played here, so I guess I'll do that. Oh, she can't do that. There's a bishop. So, yeah, where does the rook go? I don't see a good square at all. So I think that's why the computer likes this. So rook b1, I guess. I don't know. Then bishop e5. So now white has wasted a tempo. If they intend, you know, well, they can't go here. Yeah, this is just a little bit clumsier for white. And then it says after here, bishop g4. Bishop g4. Yeah, I have no idea why. That is weird. Okay, I would probably take. Yeah, black is doing very well here. Okay. Okay, but in the actual game, I did go with this queen e5 idea. Just getting some moves in with tempo. And after bishop g2, this strategy was a bit justified. Okay, and bishop c5, pinning the pawn. Once again, this is with tempo. Although, it does invite the move knight e4, which Michael Jolson saw right away, and that is what she played. I have to admit, I had a blind spot for that move. I did not see that move. And I wish I would. It just looks like obvious now that I've seen it. It like attacks the bishop and defends the pawn, brings the knight to the center. It does so many good things. Okay, so I retreat my bishop. King h1 was played. Now the knight's attacked, threatening to take it. So f3, defending the knight. And yeah, I was feeling good in this part of the game. I'm like, she played f3, blocking her bishop. You know, I did get to keep this pawn. And my bishop's amazing. My rooks are good. Everything's looking fairly good. I have more activity. Except for this knight. So I thought I should improve my worst placed piece. So knight to b3 comes with tempo on the rook. The rook now came to a3. Yeah, and here I played knight c5. So in hindsight, would I play that again? Well, I could go knight d4. That is protected by the bishop. I definitely thought about doing that. I think I wanted to get rid of this knight. This is definitely white's best piece. And I thought if I could trade that knight off, I'd be doing quite well. And for example, if knight takes, bishop takes, I'm on the rook. And if rook c3, I could go b5 now. I did kind of plan this. Yeah, and I thought I was probably better here, and I am better, according to the engine. So, but she does not have to take the knight. And in fact, she did play what I thought was a good move here, d6. Now I saw this move could be played. It could have been played for a while. At least it felt like that during the game. And one of the ideas is that I can't really take because knight takes d6, and that's a fork. So I can't take the pawn with a pawn. But I was planning rook to d8 here, which I played. And now that pins the pawn to the queen. And yeah, there's some interesting variations here for sure. I think if she tried to take and queen, it's not going to work because I could take the queen and this rook is still guarding the queening square. So it's not going to work. Pushing also seems just wrong. I would just win it outright. So I'm not sure what she should do. And I did see that there was no rook d3, which I think is good for me. So she went g4 here, which I didn't understand during the game, but I understand now. She wants to play queen d5 check. She definitely wants to do that. And that would, you know, attack my king and attack the knight again. And then the knight's attacked twice. So that's a fork. Pretty nice move by her to displace my queen. Now, if I saw her idea, I think I could defend. I could just play queen f7 maybe, and that would stop the check. But in the game, I played here. Thought I was being crafty because I was going to play h5. But sure enough, she did play this move. Now, it turns out that this is a blunder. Yeah, you know, move order is important. Knight takes c5 is crushing now. It's defended by the bishop, so I take. Now check. I have no hope to save my bishop. Oops. Why are my arrows so bad? Yeah, so that would just win material and the game. So queen g6 was a big blunder, and I'm honestly lucky that she didn't find knight takes c5 there, and instead played this move right away. And here I decided to play queen e6, which the computer does not like. It says I should go queen f7. Not entirely sure why. I liked queen e6. Well, I guess if she takes here, we take with the rook and we're ready to double. That must be the point. The way I did it, she can take here and I move my knight. So it's a little clumsier the way I did it. So, okay, rook d1 came. I took the pawn, rook takes, knight takes. Okay. And here I saw this ahead of time, so I'm pretty happy. Even though I only had 2 minutes on the clock, I saw this idea earlier. So bishop c5. And I am forking the knight and the rook. There is no rook d3 to protect the knight. So therefore, this wins material. She took here, which is probably best. But I am going to take material at this point. And I played here, attacking the pawn. And she went here with a sneaky idea. She seems stronger than 1500 to me, for sure. She sets all these little traps. All right, so knight takes b3. And the idea here was f4 with this idea. But I actually have a nice little tactic. I kind of fell into this, though, I'll be honest with you guys. I saw bishop d5 check, and for some reason, I thought that rook takes f4 got out of it, and it does not. But lucky for me, it does something else. So rook takes f4 check here, takes. But now I have rook f3, and that is a skewer. A skewer or a pin. It's hard to say when the pieces are of equal value. It's a skewer pin. Yeah, I don't know. But here I'm going to win material for the second time because I gave some back. And yeah, we did play on for a while, but this is a fairly easy win. Basically, the knight started hopping around and tried to take pawns and did take a pawn. I took this pawn. And when the king started to come up, I blocked it off with my rook. So the king, actually I think my rook was here. Then I pushed pawns and marched my king up and eventually came in here and won some pawns, and then she resigned. So yeah, interesting game. I could have played better, but I'm actually very happy with the opening. And now I'm just going to go over some key moments now. So yeah, the opening went as good as I could hope. I've been looking at these knight c6, knight a5 lines a little bit, and I knew enough to sack the pawn. But I'm happy that I was able to figure out the right moves here over the board. That's a good sign when that happens. Okay, and okay, here I was worried about knight d2. Now it turns out that if knight d2, I have that whole situation where white can't really go pawn hunting because they're too far behind in development, and then black can just play for the initiative at that point, play for activity, and not worry about pawns anymore, which would be great. So if I could play this move again, I would castle. But okay, this move is fine, of course. There's nothing wrong with it. taking was actually correct. Yeah, and then maybe this is a key moment where I should have played knight b3 or bishop to e5 or some combination of those two. Instead, I went for this very direct plan, which does run into bishop g4, which I missed, and then the bishop could station here. Does look uncomfortable. But instead, bishop g2. Yeah, and I blundered a tactic, you know? I did. Now, I should say that I wanted to play king h8 for a long time because of this check, which I saw. And even though I saw it all that time, I still blundered with queen g6. So it's scary to me that that can happen. I'm sure I was a little low in time. So luckily she played this move instead. I got really lucky. And then I had this, yeah, the tactics just kind of showed up. So I am pretty lucky. All in all, I would say that I'm not sure I deserve to win the game, but of course I'll take it at least. So that's that one, and I'll be back with more chess. Okay, thanks so much. Bye.